Start your engines!
Tuning up your work week. It's MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse and brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Warning, please keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times and do not feed the host. Here's Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
A Halloween edition of MRN Motorsports Monday presented by Outback Steakhouse. I'm Woody Kane. That's Joey Meyer talking about the weekend that was at Martinsville and looking ahead at the coming weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. Well, we saw what everybody seems to have been asking for, the bump and run at Martinsville. Nobody settling for a spot, similar to what we saw at the Roval. Jimmy Johnson went for it. Here we had a great duel, 6 laps or so side by side between Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., all the drama, all the action you could ask for in the closing laps of that race. And as you usually say, when people are mad, it must have been a good race.
Absolutely. Anytime you have somebody mad and somebody happy, it meant somebody got something they wanted and somebody felt like it was taken away from them, that they deserved it or they were earning it. And we saw that definitely in the last handful of laps there at Martinsville. The rest of the evening was actually a decent race. We didn't see a whole lot of, not drama, but we saw good, tight racing around the facility. But the last 20 laps really had the fans on the edge of their seat. What's the Halloween costume? That's pretty scary.
It's a Motorsports Monday host.
Very,
you like it?
Very,
I've really worked hard on this.
Very scary.
Yeah.
But again, we saw the attributes of the end of results of Martin Truex being taken away. You know, again, if anybody watches the show enough, I've said it 100 times, racing is selfish. It's a very selfish sport. You have something, you don't want to share it with anybody else. If somebody so you can have some candy. See, it's not.
Oh, yeah, cool. Candy. All right, I'll work on that later.
But if you have something and I want it, I have to steal it from you. You're not willing to give it from me. It's very selfish. So we saw the 100% act of stealing yesterday with Joey Logano's bump and run. Perfectly executed.
Yeah.
Perfectly executed, unlike we saw last year, which was a failed attempt at the bump and run, and it became the dump and run.
In some respects, you have to rely on the skill of the guy getting bumped to not wind up in the wall. But on the other hand, the guy doing the bumping has to do it in such a way that it's not just completely turning the guy backwards and wrecking him.
There is, as hard of racing as we saw, there is a lot of finesse involved with a bump and run. And we've seen it from the best drivers in the world. Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Dale Jr., to name a few of the good drivers that have championships, and a lot of them are in the Hall of Fame. Execute the bump and run very, very well, and Joey Logano can add his name to that list.
All right, speaking of Joey Logano, here's what he had to say after the race.
Huge to be in that championship four again. This will be our third time we've been in there, so we hope this time is the time that we finally get the big trophy at the end. But you know, obviously today is a amazing race car, you know, car that we were able to drive to the front. But probably even more spectacular was the pit crew. They were on their game today, just laying down great stops every time, gaining spots. And you know, when you're out front here at Martinsville, you're able to you know, clean air. It means a lot, but it means a lot for different reasons than it would at a Miami or a Phoenix or whatever it is. I think when you're out front, you're able to control your own pace and keep a lot of air to your brakes and keep your car cool, and it pays off on the long run. And then there at the end, just got tight. You know, we made some adjustments to try to fire off better there, and it did not work. But we were able to hold them off and well, almost hold them off, and then be able to make the move there at the end to get the win.
So Joey Logano punches his ticket to Homestead, Miami. He will be one of 4 drivers racing for a championship. And by the way, that race-winning car from Joey Logano, you can get that and other race-winning diecasts, the one at Martinsville Speedway, as well as all the race-winning and others, available at planbsales.com. The classic look there for Joey Logano, the Pennzoil colors on the machine. And I think that's just a function now of what we see in the playoffs. It's a situation where that's the environment in which we're operating under now, where the winning is everything. A good points day, especially in the final 10, is no longer good enough.
What we saw yesterday was somebody winning the lottery, right? Last week's Powerball was record, $1.6 billion, and somebody was playing for it. But then what we saw was after winning the lottery, which is the race fans asking for that kind of racing, then we saw the complaints of winning the lottery and having to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Right? And then
part of the deal.
Part of the deal, man. When you want to win the lottery, you've got to pay taxes. When you ask for more short track racing or road course racing to have cars close to each other, stop with the complaints about the event that we saw with the last 2 laps.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what you're going to get. That's what you're asking for. You want to see that.
Yeah.
Don't complain about it.
Yep. All right.
You can't. It doesn't work both ways.
Hold that thought. We've
Yep.
got on track, off track coming up. We'll dig more deeply into that at that point. Also coming up, another driver punches his ticket to Homestead, Miami as well. Johnny Sauter wins the truck race. He will race for his second championship at Homestead, and he will be a guest on the program a little bit later today. It's all ahead on MRN Motorsports Monday. Stay with us.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
Hey, I'm Brant. So there's this guy named Jordan. He's a healthy guy. He's a dad of 6, and he works as a guide in Alaska. And he goes to the doctor, true story, he goes to the doctor, and he's diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. And here's the thing. He had switched earlier from medical insurance to MediShare, where Christians share each other's medical bills. So the question for Jordan and his wife, Jenny, was, is this actually going to work?
Our medical bills exceeded $160,000. MediShare members shared all our bills.
And it was about more than just the money, too. This is a real community.
MediShare is a family, a group of people that stick with you through the hardest times of your life. I just don't know how I could have done it without MediShare.
It's so worth looking into. There's a reason this is growing so fast. So if you want to find out more, here is a number for you. 844-74-BIBLE. That's 844-74-BIBLE.
White flag in the air. Truex now to the inside of Logano. Side by side, wheel to wheel, back into turn number 1.
Truex to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get it done at the exit of 2. He does. He pulls ahead of Logano. Truex to the lead as they hit turn 3. One more try. Logano gets into the back. He shoves him up the racetrack.
Logano down to the inside. They touch. Truex goes sideways. Logano gets by. Here comes Denny Hamlin. He'll get second, but Logano gets the win.
Joey Logano wins and punches his ticket to Homestead, Miami. Martin Truex not very happy about it, understandably so. But as you saw in that clip there, I was reminded that Denny Hamlin almost snuck in there and stole that thing.
It was all about momentum and speed off of turn
Yep.
4. But one of the things we've been preaching about on this show all year long, you can go back to MRN.com and listen to our previous shows. We've talked about the big 3 all year long. The big 3, man, everybody knows who the big 3 is. A year ago at this time, Martin Truex Jr. had such a fantastic year that he was locked into Homestead. It didn't matter who won, what happened. As long as he was breathing and his team was operational, he was going to Homestead for a championship. They grasped
that playoff bonus point thing quicker than everybody.
Right. Now, with Joey Logano winning this first race, we have 2 more races at Texas and Phoenix. If somebody in the playoffs besides the big 3 wins a race, one of those big 3 are gone.
Because of the math, and Joey Logano's already won.
And if we have 2 drivers outside of the playoffs, besides Kyle Busch, Truex, and Harvick win, if you have a Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, Clint Bowyer, Eric Amola win 2 of the next races, 2 of the big 3 are gone. And that's really what's putting the pressure on. We saw a very ordinary day last week. Kevin Harvick had a very ordinary day yesterday. And you see him at the very bottom of that list. And that's very surprising. Again, one of the stronger front runners all season long of the big 3. I don't know if there's any weakness. We saw the last couple of weeks with Martin Truex running bad, but yesterday he proved he was right there with those guys.
They're still there.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of Kevin Harvick, it is a blooming Monday because Kevin Harvick had a top 10 finish. Head on over to Outback Steakhouse. Tell him you want that free bloomin' onion. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to say that, but head on over there now and get your free bloomin' onion. Lots of great lunch specials as well going on right now. But back to your point about one of those guys possibly not making it, Kyle Busch had a comment about this could be a situation that we didn't expect.
Yep.
I'm not so sure that that you can just advance on points, even in our situation where we're at. You know, with the way that all 8 of these guys have been running lately, there's an opportunity for, let's say, the bottom 3 guys, whoever they are, if they win,
and Harvick has a better 3 races than we do, he's in on points versus us, So I'm not so sure that situation can happen. I'm not so sure that situation will happen. I hope it won't, but I'd like to think that you still have to go out there and you still have to kind of push the issue to win a race. That obviously just cements yourself and gives you you win Martinsville, you get a couple weeks off almost, and being able to focus and think on exactly what you got to do for Homestead the final week. But even if you don't win those, I think it was 15, we were the last guy through on points to get to the championship round, and we ended up winning it in 15. So however you get there, it's just a matter of getting there and making sure that you're eligible.
Joey Logano has done that with his victory, but to Kyle's point, the math may work out to where one of those big 3 is not the ones who make it on. Let's talk a little on-track, off-track now, the portion of the show where we discuss some things going well in the sport and some things not going quite so well. On track, what do you got? What's good for you?
Well, if you go to Outback to get your free bloomin' onion today.
Wait, that doesn't count. You can't do that.
Don't play with your Joey.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. It's a public service announcement that we do here in the show.
All right.
You can't play with your Joey. They frown upon that, even if it's Halloween.
Is that sort of thing frowned upon? Yeah.
We've asked and we've clamored, hey, I want to win the lottery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last week, $1.6 billion. I had tickets. Did you have tickets?
Yes.
So you go. Neither one of us were here.
No, because we wouldn't be here.
Thankfully, we didn't have to pay taxes on those $1 billion tickets. But what we saw yesterday, we've asked for short track racing. We've wanted short track racing. And at the end of that race, we saw the bump and run perfectly executed.
Mm-hmm.
When we go back in history and we look at bump and runs and dump and runs, there's a distinct difference. The dump and run victim never gets to finish the race.
Mm-hmm.
The bump and run was side by side with the eventual winner of the race. And that's what we clamor. That's why we expect. That's what we look forward to with short track racing. We need more short tracks. We need more road course racing, right? Everybody clamors for that. But that's the racing that we saw years ago at Watkins Glen. Marcus Ambrose, Brad Keselowski slipping and sliding in the oil. That's what we enjoyed. We didn't enjoy the technique of road course racing. The finesse of getting through the gears and how the brake. No, we didn't care how good he was. We enjoyed the side-by-side
compelling racing.
Exactly right. That's what we saw yesterday. The bump and run was perfectly executed. Kudos to Joey Logano. I feel bad for Martin Truex Jr. I understand the heat of the moment. You're going to feel bad, but they have to appreciate the technique that was involved and how it was used to get the lead and take the win.
Mine is a lot like yours. Short track racing was my on, but I think it's a situation where we know it's going to be a couple of more years at least before the reconfiguration of the schedule comes because of contractual obligations. But I think if we could get to a situation where we have more of these short tracks, and then you get into, well, who's going to give up a race? But if you get into that situation, you can avoid at least a lot, I think, of this tweaking with the rules, tweaking with the body styles to try and make the racing more compelling. If you put them on short tracks, that stuff doesn't matter as much.
It fixes itself. We don't have to worry about aero advantages and clean air and restricted motors and all the stuff that goes along with these larger tracks. Martinsville, Bristol, the road courses handle themselves because of the speed differentials between low speed and high speed, and the ability of simply it's a race car on a race track. It's not an aerodynamic machine. We heard Joey mention being out front mattered, and it really wasn't about aero. It was about being able to run your line that kept you faster. Brad Keselowski did a really good job of having a fast race car, but a difficult time being able to pass.
Yeah.
Once he got out front, was able to drive away, he was running his line. It wasn't clean air that was helping him.
Right. All right, as off track, what do you got there?
It simply matters. We talked about, again, everybody clamored and clamored and clamored. Years ago, Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Dale Jr., all those drivers did a bump and run. The fans went crazy and they were happy. Yesterday, some fans were mad at Joey Logano. They booed him for a bump and run. And the hypocrisy of what we're asking for, like we talked about earlier, I want to win the lottery, but I don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
They gave you what you've been asking for.
Exactly right. So simply put, keep asking for what you want. Stop complaining about getting what you just asked for.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Let's go to break, though. We've got Johnny Sauter coming up in the next segment. Let's go to break, though, with what Roger Penske had to say about that move that Joey Logano executed at the end of the race.
I certainly didn't, and he's a racer and should know better than to say that. That was as clean a shot as you can have in a race like this. I didn't hear Kyle Busch or the 42 have any of that kind of conversation, after that race. So to me, I'm looking forward. We wanted to go to Miami, and to me, Joey drove a great race. He led most of the race, I think, if you look at the number of laps. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just a comment that I don't think we deserve, and we'll race him day after day. So, sure, it's some controversy that he's trying to spread, but from my perspective, Joey drove a great race. The team won on pit road. You could see that how many times he got out front, and certainly leading the number of laps shows the kind of car we had and the job that Todd and the team did. So that's my position.
Are you a serious diecast collector? Do you have a favorite driver? Are you looking for a gift for a race fan? No matter what the question, the answer is always PlanBSales.com. Plan B has all the latest in diecast from Lionel and apparel, artwork, and other items for your favorite driver in NASCAR or other forms of racing. Go to PlanBSales.com, key your driver's name in the handy search window, and look at all the options. Your one stop for diecast and other motorsports collectibles is PlanBSales.com.
Grunt style. The American fighting spirit is in everything we make. We are 500 patriots and veterans strong, bringing clothing manufacturing back to the United States of America. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We are Grunt Style, and this we'll defend. Get yours at gruntstyle.com.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
He's still got 3/4 of a straightaway advantage over Brett Moffitt, who's had a great afternoon coming from deep back into the field to run second here in the late going. Sauter down the backstretch.
For the final time into turns 3 and 4, Johnny Sauter is looking for victory and a chance to race for a championship.
For the 6th time in 2018, the 23rd time in his NASCAR Camping World Truck Series career, Johnny Sauter takes it to victory lane.
Johnny Sauter punches his ticket to Homestead. He'll race for his second championship coming up at Homestead Miami Speedway based on his win at Martinsville Speedway. And the driver of the ISM Connect Chevrolet joins us on the guest line now. Johnny, congratulations, man. 6 wins, and now you're going to run for a championship. Have you pinched yourself a little bit yet?
Well, obviously this whole playoff thing gets things a little bit stressful as we get down the stretch here. So to be able to get that win out of the way and know that you're going to race for a championship, that's pretty awesome. So been fortunate enough to be able to do this over the last couple of years. So yeah, we're ready to go. The reality of Homestead is going to happen, and we just got to go down there and try to get the job done. So I'm pretty proud of everybody at GMS and the truck that we had this weekend. Our race, the final couple laps of our race wasn't nearly as exciting as the Cup race, that's for sure.
Yeah, after sitting idle for a couple of weeks after a really blah finish at Talladega, you show up at Martinsville, you get your 4th clock. My question is, where are all the clocks and are the chimes all going off on them?
Well, the cool thing is obviously I have four children, and so each one of them will each get a grandfather clock someday when I tip over. So that's kind of a cool thing, I think. But we got them kind of all tucked away in the basement there. So you got to remember, I live in Wisconsin. You got basements up here. So,
Martinsville.
So they're all sitting there nice and neat, and nothing's been broke yet by any of the kids, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Martinsville's one of those tracks that's right up your alley, Johnny. It's a short track, bumping and banging. But realistically, your truck, you didn't have a whole lot of scratches on it except for one small restart incident where the second-place guy decided to take away the spot you were taking, but you were able to get that back on the next restart. Was your truck really that good all day, or did you guys make some adjustments early on?
Yeah, honestly, the only laps we really had before the race were qualifying. In the first stage, the first segment of qualifying, we were really good. Second one, we were still pretty decent, I felt like, and then when I needed to go fast in the third round, I couldn't do it. So had me scratching my head a little bit, and Joe was like, I promise you we'll be fine. And because, we had done a lot of work, or those guys had done a lot of work on a different setup package to go there with and spent a lot of time 7 posting and whatnot. And obviously you get there and it's raining. So what do you do now? And so we just kind of aborted mission, went back to what we had ran there in the spring, and with some other small little changes. And we just had really good speed. And the truck was really that dominant. It's not every day that you get something that fast. So honestly, when we were out front, I felt like we were running 80% and still pulling away. So like I said, it's not every day you get to drive something that's that good and that much fun to just make laps and get in a rhythm. So, Martinsville's been a good racetrack for us over the past and however many years. And I just enjoy it. It's a fun place where you got to be aggressive, but you got to take care of your stuff and get into a rhythm. And, we just had a phenomenal truck the other day.
Chatting with Johnny Sauter, who won at Martinsville on Saturday, the ISM Connect Chevrolet. He'll race for another championship coming up at Homestead Miami Speedway. Johnny, it may not feel this way to you since you were in the seat having to work hard at it all afternoon, but it seems as if some of the traditional short track beating and banging that we're used to seeing at Martinsville has gone away. Does it seem that way to you? And if it does, why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, you'd like to say that it's everybody taking care of their stuff, but I do think obviously you've got guys trying to make it to the round of 4 for the finale. So I think you see some of the competitors maybe giving a little bit of extra, gap on the guy, not maybe beating on him as much. Maybe they respect the position that he's in, trying to run for the championship. I do think that with the tire and then the engine package that we had this weekend, it's even harder to get to the guy. It's kind of like, I feel like we were maybe one of the few. There was a handful of 3 or 4 of us that could really pass trucks throughout the course of the day, and then a lot of the guys were just, it seemed to me, after watching the replay of the race, they were kind of stuck. It was just really, really hard to pass, and that's a product of 100 things. That's not, just one thing. So everybody's stuff's getting so much closer, and it's so much more competitive. It's hard to get an advantage. So, a lot of times that unfortunately leads to single file racing, but it didn't bother me to see people taking care of the equipment. That's kind of the way racing should be, and I know people like beating and banging, and there's plenty of that going on. It just, there weren't the big wrecks, and I kind of like to see that more than I do to see a big pile up. So it's okay to beat and bang, and as long as that guy keeps going.
Johnny, we're down to 6 drivers. 1 driver, yourself, is already through Homestead. We have the other 5. 1 other driver is your teammate with Justin Haley. Do you start going with the next 2 races and try to assist him to get him to Homestead, or do you not want to compete against him in Homestead? How does that work with the team differential there at GMS?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I texted him right after the race and said, man, we got to figure out what we got to do to get you to the round of 4, and obviously those guys are doing a great job, and he's doing a good job. I know he didn't like Martinsville, but those guys salvaged a really good day out of it with a 6th place. So I think it's always good when you can come out of a racetrack that maybe you don't particularly like and have a solid day. So I believe he sat on the pole at Texas last year and ran really well, and he had a strong truck at Phoenix last year before getting caught up in a wreck. So I think Justin's gonna be able to hold his own that entire bunch. That he's got a good group of guys. So obviously you got to put your team cap on, and for GMS, I think it would be awesome to have 2 trucks racing for a championship in Miami. So that way, if one of us has trouble, the other, the team itself still has a shot at winning the title. So we're going to do everything we can just to try to help them and help those guys get where they want to be and race for the championship.
Johnny, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, and I imagine the answer would be different depending on which seat you were in, but you mentioned the Cup race earlier and the finish there. A lot of folks up in arms about the move Joey Logano made at the end. A lot of other folks saying, yeah, that's what we've been asking for. Where do you come down on that? Was it just good, hard, short-track racing, or was there anything wrong with that?
Well, I mean, if you race long enough, at least I could speak for myself. I've been on both sides of that coin. So I'm not going to sit here and say that what Joey did was wrong, because I've done it. And I think, like I said, if anybody races long enough, they're going to find themselves tempted with being in that position. So I can make the case for both sides. Yeah. Like Joey said, everything's on the line. He's racing for a championship. On the flip side of that, Martin raced him extremely clean, and was probably expecting to cruise to victory without a bunch of, running into each other. So, it's racing. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. And Joey did what he needed to do, and Martin raced it the way he thought it needed to be done. So I say no harm, no foul. And, like I said, for me to sit here and say, oh, yeah, that was a bad deal or it was a good deal, I've been on both sides. So just that's hard racing. And, people are going to get their feelings hurt and vice versa. So that's just part of it. But it was definitely entertaining to watch. I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, me too, man. It certainly was. And I guess, again, it depends on which driver you're a fan of. Yeah.
In the off-season, a lot of these drivers have hobbies. We talked to Martin Truex Jr. He's a big hunt and fishing guy. Joey Logano likes to go riding four-wheelers and razors. Johnny Sauter has a little bit of racing hobby on the side. You like racing late models, and I hear a little birdie saying you may race a snowball. How accurate is that?
Yeah, we're working on it. So, that race is a huge, it's a big undertaking, and not only from, obviously finances, but it takes a lot of manpower to make it happen too. It's not just a 5-day deal. So, working hard on it. Obviously went down there last year and didn't have the weekend that I had hoped. So, but yeah, you mentioned hobbies. That's pretty much what we do. So, I'm sitting out in front of the shop already for today to go in there and work on stuff. So, I just love short track racing and late models and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's just my kind of hobby. But I will say I'm trying to take up more fishing and outdoor stuff. Obviously being up here, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, me and my son spent 2 or 3 days fishing. So, it's a lot of fun to just get away from cars and racing sometimes too, and just see what else is out there. But I always come back to the shop. That's where I'm comfortable.
You always dance with the girl you brought.
Yeah.
That's it. You always dance with the girl you brought. You go back to the race cars. A race car will never leave you.
Yeah, that's right. It won't. That's absolutely true. Well, listen, Johnny, congratulations on the big win. We look forward to seeing you run for another championship at Homestead, Miami in a few weeks. You and 3 other guys as yet to be determined. And just congratulations on a really fine season.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, and hopefully we're talking soon again. So
absolutely, Johnny.
Take care.
There you go. Johnny Sauter, he takes the ISM Connect Chevrolet to victory lane at Martinsville for GMS Racing, his 6th of the season. This one the most important because it allows him to run for a championship again this season. Another break here on MRN Motorsports Monday. We're going to start looking ahead at Texas right after this.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, right on our strength.
Clutch Coffee Bar in Mooresville, North Carolina is redefining the drive-thru coffee game in Race City, USA. The Clutch experience is quick, efficient, and personal. Unmatched customer service is the name of the game. Clutch Coffee Bar offers signature espresso drinks, classic coffees, custom-flavored infused energy drinks, smoothies, and more. With over 25 flavors, there's something for everyone. Visit our 2 locations in Mooresville, 356 Williamson Road and 154 West Plaza Drive. Open daily 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. Power up today with Clutch Coffee Bar.
I'm Kevin Harvick, and it's another Bloomin' Monday. Ask for your free Bloomin' Onion tonight at Outback Steakhouse. Now it's back to Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
Listen to Kevin. Go by if you're watching on a Monday and get your free Bloomin' Onion at Outback Steakhouse. Make a purchase and tell them, hey, I want the Bloomin' Onion. Kevin Harvick had another top 10 finish. All right, let's start looking ahead to Texas. That track has raced a little bit differently since the reconfiguration. The turns are markedly different from each other.
Yep, turns 1 and 2 are a little bit flatter. The bottom lane tends to be a little lower. We really want that 1 and 2 to widen out, but man, if you can't get through 1 and 2, normally you can get through 3 and 4 and make up time there, and that'll be the difference.
Speaking of which, I saw a tweet from Texas Motor Speedway. You know, there have been some guys in the past when they show pictures of the tire dragon on the track, they're saying, no, go higher. And somebody said, well, are you going to let Kyle Larson and I forget who other, Blaney maybe, or Ty Dillon or somebody run the Tire Dragon? And Texas said, hey, we have the keys. If they want to get behind the wheel of it, we're more than willing to let them do it.
Good. That's what we should do.
Dragon.
There you go. The Tire Dragon. We don't need to grip up a lane that's already faster. And
They'll start off there.
They'll start there
for
some reason. We're already going to be on the bottom. What you're looking for as the tires lose a little bit of grip and the speeds fall off, then you add more grip because the track hasn't been used on the higher lane of the track. That's where we're trying to blend in. We want to add more grip early on in a run. Give the guy an advantage to get off the bottom and open those tracks up. You don't want to see a train on the bottom lane through 1 and 2. And unfortunately, with the reconfiguration, we've seen a little bit more of that. The trucks did a really good job initially of widening that that corner out, but we've seen now the migration back to the bottom as, again, the bottom lane tends to be faster. It's a shorter way around.
Speaking of the trucks, the Jag Metals 350 comes your way right here on the Motor Racing Network Friday evening at 7:30. It's a triple header weekend. Performance Racing Network, our good friends at PRN, will have the Xfinity race on Saturday, the Cup race on Sunday. But speaking of that Cup race, we got a couple of drivers now who are going to preview Texas for us.
Texas is a lot of fun. The hardest thing about Texas is balancing a little bit of fun and your job. No different than you guys. I mean, it's just everything's more fun in Texas. The racetrack, since the repave, is not so much fun, but it's a challenge, you know. And within those challenges, you got to be open-minded about it. You got to be excited about that challenge and ready to attack it, because you do definitely have to attack that. I mean, it's a track that's the grip levels through the roof until it's not. Very, very tricky, you know, to get a hold of.
You know, that place has always been fast, and it's always kind of been one groovish around the bottom, and so far it's kind of what we got with the repave. You know, obviously you hope that with time and age and the asphalt surface that it becomes better, more racy. I'm not sure we're really there yet, especially the time of year we go there now, being in November. And as chilly as it is, it's pretty cool. So there's going to be more urgence to run the bottom all the time. So that's tough. That's always tough for raceability of the racetrack.
There you go. Kyle Busch and Clint Boyer breaking down Texas for us. You know, these two races earlier in the season were won by Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. The next two races, Texas and Phoenix. So we have no reason really to expect that they won't be strong again, do we?
No, I think all the big three will be strong. I think Truex comes guns a-blazing. He realizes that Texas, of the next two tracks that he feels he has an advantage on, aerodynamically and horsepower-wise, Texas is that track. I really expect a strong showing from Martin Truex Jr. in that camp. We've got good battles. Justin Allgaier really needs to come on strong in the Xfinity Series because he had terrible
After some
luck.
trouble.
And Johnny Sauter, again, you heard him say he's going to try to get his teammate, Justin Haley, who's over at GMS, right there at the bottom of that cutoff line. He needs to leapfrog over and possibly win that race, and that would be a very good track for those guys with a strong proving of that NT1 engine where those guys can run wide open. And now with that small engine rule change, which we don't talk a whole lot about, but the engine rule change in the Truck Series gave the NT1 a touch more horsepower, which NASCAR felt they needed to be equal to the OEM brands.
There's been a lot of talk about how much money that is saving the teams, and it's in the tens of thousands of dollars from what I hear, but that kind of goes out the window if people are using the built motors and you start the whole arms race all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. NASCAR's trying to mandate through technology and engineering and rules that the NT1 is simply a better motor. It's the first year. There's been some changes, some revisions, if you will, on how you're running those motors. The NT1 is a fuel-injected motor. We can tune electronically. The OEM motors are not. We still tune those with a carburetor. So there's still some disparities. With 4 races to go, NASCAR chose to make a small revision change, and we're going to see that at Texas a lot.
All right, as we mentioned, triple headers at Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead to come the rest of the season. We will have the truck race for you Friday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, the Jag Metals 350. Also, don't forget NASCAR Live coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesday night, every Tuesday night. I'm Woody Kane. He's Joey Meyer. We're headed to Texas Motor Speedway, and we'll see you right back here next week for another edition of MRN Motorsports Monday. Happy Halloween, everybody.